You can, you should, and if you're brave enough to start, you will. Stephen King wrote that, and today we're talking about vision and courage and stepping out of our comfort zone. I'm going to introduce you shortly to Christine Stow. But the theme this month is vision and courage. And what does that mean to you? For me, a vision is the ability to contemplate or plan the future using imagination or wisdom. Yet often, we need more than just a vision. We also need courage to make choices and confront situations that require us to step out of our comfort zone. We may have to experience situations previously unknown. We need to be willing to give it a go. There is an anticipation of achieving a positive outcome. Yet until we give it a go, we won't be sure. It's not necessarily the way things will turn out. Our expectations may change, our paths may deviate, but our vision may remain the same. Christine Stow is an author, speaker, and winner of the International Stevie Women in Business Awards. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Kerryn.
Nice to have you here. You're also a former local councillor and you run a business called Empowered Women in Business. Life was going well for Christine, from working in a forensic laboratory to moving into medical sales as a state manager. And she took sales from $200,000 to $1 million in 3 years. Her vision of the future changed overnight and she had to reinvent herself. She now empowers women to step up and live their best life. And she's certainly got a few stories to tell. Christine, what does vision and courage mean to you?
So, in pondering vision, I've been thinking back and where I've taken myself from and to. I didn't have a vision necessarily that I could see, but I knew that there was something else out there. I knew that there was a better way to be. So I had a vision originally when I took myself from Melbourne to Queensland, from forensic science to laboratory sales. So I had a vision that something could be better. And similarly, when I set up support groups for carers of children with disabilities, I knew something could be better. So I had a vision that something could be better. And in terms of courage, courage to me, when I think about one of the most courageous decisions that I made was being elected to local council and how I was going to achieve that while looking after my daughter. My daughter requires 24/7 care dependent on me. And I remember thinking, how was I going to do that? So I had to have the courage to make tough decisions to allow other people to care for my daughter. So it's about making tough decisions that you don't necessarily want to make.
So just stepping back into that, when you were a national technical advisor in medical sales, you were flying around the world and doing amazing things, working with amazing clients, and then things changed. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened overnight, virtually?
It was overnight. So I was traveling around the world. I was in medical division for the company I worked for. When I look back, I was swanning around in Cairns on a yacht, looking at the Great Barrier Reef, and I was there for a conference to talk to doctors and anaesthetists on our products, and what a life, being paid to visit the Great Barrier Reef. And then I had my second daughter and was all set to go back to work, and it changed overnight because we found out there was something wrong with her. So within a utterance of a sentence, she's not meeting her milestones by the child and maternal health nurse. My whole life just floated out the window. I remember looking out the window and just wondering what my life would look like. All those plans and dreams that I'd built up to become someone looked up to in a corporate field, now just fallen through the floor. So my life changed overnight, and it took some time to pick myself up off the floor.
So where was your support coming from at that time when you found yourself in that situation?
So pretty quickly, I found myself being referred to doctors and doctors, and so now I was on the other side from being the selling products to doctors. I was now on the other side, and I remember having a conversation with my manager about that when Imogen was going for surgery. Imogen's my daughter with special needs. So where was my support? So it was a lot of appointments. So we didn't really know what was wrong with my daughter. I felt like aliens had landed on my roof because it was a rare condition. Support was coming from government departments, government, the hospital, social workers. And I felt like I was on a merry-go-round that I couldn't get off, of health professionals, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech therapists, and social workers. So that's where my support came from, as well as my mum and dad gave a lot of support as well. For them, it was difficult as well, being, the parents and not really knowing how to help or how to support, but there were a lot of support in terms of looking after my older daughter as well. But I remember a social worker saying, sending me along to support groups and these health professionals, but you still go dizzy on this merry-go-round that you can't get off, that you feel like you shouldn't be on.
It must have been incredibly difficult for you. And were there times where you felt very alone?
Felt alone, I got really down. And how was I going? I'd come from being somebody, looked up to, if you like, to then having, who am I? Who's my identity? So it's a change of identity. When I talk about reinventing myself, I had to reinvent, who am I? And at times felt ripped off because I'd, studied to postgraduate education, Bachelor of Science, and then I couldn't use those skills and abilities. I was just a mum, just a carer. So I was very alone. But then with that support from social workers and stepping into support groups, I ended up setting up a support group of my own, which still runs today, 20 years later, of other mums who are similarly caring for children with disabilities.
It's interesting how when we have an experience that we relate to very strongly ourselves, that it actually does help us to move forward and do something to help other people, I think. So, in a much different circumstance completely, the business community I run came about because I wanted to keep learning about business, and I was finding that there wasn't an opportunity. So I created it, and just like you created your support group. And you also set up a coffee shop as well, didn't you? Was that for people to gather together, or what was the role of that in the vision?
The coffee shop was something that I set up out of council, but just going back a little bit to the support group, and same with business, and those parents that have the shared experience, and same in business, you get down and things are tough, and having come through COVID maybe recently, things are tough. Sharing that experience together really brings you together and brings out amazing things in people. And I moved across town, across Melbourne, but it's in the west, and now I live in the north. But I still have that shared camaraderie with those people because I shared that really tough experience. In terms of the cafe for people with disabilities, so I came from setting up a support group, so applying for a grant and getting support group running. Then I found when it came to I wanted to work, I wanted support for Imogen so I could go to work, but there wasn't the same supports for children with special needs as there was for normal children. So, during the school holidays, you send your normal child off to school holiday programs, and I realized there wasn't going to be that for children with special needs. So I wrote a proposal and got a holiday program, which then became a template for other local government areas to set up holiday programs for children with disabilities. So from there, I learned that if you want something to happen, like a cafe for people with disabilities, you write a proposal, and then you match your vision, if you like, with people that get you there. So I was elected to council, elected to local government, and we were talking about how we can get people with disabilities into employment. And so that's where I had the proposal written for this cafe for people with disabilities. And I'm really proud of it because, I got the proposal written. I had the vision and the idea. There you go, vision.
Yes.
And it started out as a cafe, as a coffee cart in the library. We said, let's, set something up for people with disabilities to run. And it was a coffee cart. And then they remodeled the whole library. Like they spent, I don't know, $500,000, and there's a cafe in the middle of the library now, which is run by people with disabilities. And I drove that like a Mack truck through a matchstick house. So I'm
It's
really
fantastic.
proud of that. Yeah.
It's a wonderful achievement, and that took courage, because so often we have an idea but we don't follow through with it. We hold ourselves back. So this is the whole thing that that I'm talking about this month with various people, is the courage to make something happen. And maybe it won't work, but if you don't actually give it a try, then you'll never ever know. And I guess I was brought up thinking that I don't want to ever die wondering. I want to give it a go and see what comes out of it.
And there were plenty of people that were pushing back, or no, we can't make this happen. And I was like, no, we're going to make this happen. This is how we're going to do it. So yeah, I did have that vision.
Absolutely. So tell me about standing for being a counsellor in 2014, or rather, yeah.
Yeah, so some people asked me to stand in council to support somebody else, and it was tough because my ex had recently left. I had to go out and campaign on my own. In NDIS, this was pre-NDIS, so I didn't have a lot of support for Imogen. So I just did whatever I could and got out there and letterbox dropped and talked to people. And I'd already become well known in the local community. It was where I grew up, so a lot of people knew our family and knew me. And yes, I got elected, and it happened that Imogen was actually in hospital in ICU at the time, and I had somebody sit with Imogen while she was in ICU. I went to the election, I got elected, and then went back to the hospital. I was like, what just happened? But then I got to council. Yeah, it was like big, and now I'm back in the hospital eating hospital food. I was like, and then some reporters rang me. I'm sitting beside the bed in the hospital. And then it was like, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to do this? So I had to really, really think hard. Should I do this as a full-time carer? Imogen requires 24/7 care. And I thought to myself, the people have spoken. They've asked me to stand. They've asked me to represent them. I have to do that. And how am I going to do it? And it was quite an honor. So I dug really deep and thought, I'm just going to do everything that I possibly can. Meetings are every week. So where you see councils, council meetings once a month, you actually go there once every week, and there's a whole lot of other meetings to go to. I thought, I'm just going to do whatever I can to get to the table. And once I got to the table and I looked around, and there was 11 of us, and there was 3 of us women. And I thought it was even. I thought there was more women, but there was only 3 of us. I was like, oh my God. And because everybody knew who I was, and because I was such an advocate before, they went, welcome, Christine. We thought you were always here. You just meant to be here. But I was able to achieve great things like the cafe, like a special school for children with disabilities. So it was a great honor. It took a lot of digging deep, and I had to have that vision that I could do it, or that conviction that I was going to make it happen, because again, I had everything gone against me, and I remember, and one of the biggest things that I had to do was to let go that I had to be everything for Imogen. I had to be able to delegate to other people, because before that, I'd only ever left her for 3 hours at a time, working around her medications, her feeds. I had to teach someone else, and I had to have faith that somebody else will be able to do what I do. And yeah, so that's how I've come. I mean, it was a watershed, if you like, because it's allowed me to do other things, because I had to delegate that caring, and it's allowed me to, go to Disneyland, Hawaii, write my book, all those things.
It's interesting, isn't it? It actually is an analogy for running a business as well. And in fact, one of the sessions that we're having during this month is about delegating to a VA. And, I guess for me, my business is my baby, and it is actually hard to let go of it, and thinking that you need to be all things for it. And just like you're saying, it actually frees you up, and you have more time when you are prepared to look for some avenues to find the support that will relieve you of those time constraints, and let you be able to think more widely. I mean, being able to complete your MBA and then getting elected on local government, with the Liberal Party, and also you're writing your book. I mean, none of those would have happened if you had only seen your vision as being Imogen's carer for the future.
And in 3-hour blocks. I have to do this.
Absolutely.
Do this for 3 hours. I'd never be able to come to YTM either.
No, well, that would be awful. So how did you dig deep? What was going through your head, and was it just sheer determination, or we've talked a lot at YTM about persistence and resilience and commitment, but if you put it down to 3 of those characteristics, what would you say are those 3 things that just drove you personally to move out of your comfort zone, to take the step forward, and to fit in with, you're not going to stop me, this is not going to stop me, I'm going to keep going?
Yeah, so one of my mantras is, well, Imogen doesn't have disability, she has extra ability, so she's allowed me to see things differently. The other thing is find a way. I'm going to find a way. And the other thing is that I say is that Imogen has a disability, but that doesn't mean that it has to hold me back. And to some, it's formed a lot of where I'm at, a lot of the things that I've done. Like I can't imagine that I would have stood in a federal election against the opposition leader of the country if it wasn't for my daughter. So, there needs to be some sort of recognition of that. But I think it's find a way, and it's that determination to find a way. And one of the examples that I give, I was looking for something as a distraction or something of a hobby. So I started looking at what I might like to do. And I used to sail before I had Imogen when I lived in Queensland. So I went down to the sailing club, they had an open day, and I went down, I'd got care for Imogen. And I went, that's exhilarating. Oh, this is fantastic. And then I went, I can't do that, I'm a carer. And then I went, no, I gave myself a talking to, if you like. No, I'm going to find a way. So I mapped out what that would look like, what things I would need. I would need care for Imogen. I would need somebody who could make decisions while I was out on the water. And that's what I've done. And now it's become part of what I do. And it's become pivotal because I found a way, and it represents all those things that, I was holding myself back, or those things that, oh no, I can't do that. No, I'm going to find a way and I'm going to make it happen. So it's about digging deep about that, finding a way.
I was actually talking to Cindy yesterday, and she was recounting her story at YTM the other night, where she went on that Camp Eden pole and did the flying fox, and how she never thought she could possibly do that. And it was exactly the same, pushing herself to an absolute limit, but still being able to achieve what was happening. So, yeah, really interesting. So you also now help people with writing grants, and I guess you became quite an expert because you had the vision, and I think I heard you say before that that's what you need first, is the vision of what you're trying to achieve. So are you working on any grants at the moment with any clients?
I'm working with a client in helping in mental health space, which is really exciting with what he's achieving. And I help small businesses write grants if they see a grant that they want to apply for, or I help them map out that proposal or that vision. But what I'm really passionate about at the moment is I'm launching a book. I'm putting together a compilation of carer stories, because I wrote my story, and it's been something that I've been able to give to, a former Prime Minister of the country. And one of the things I was most proud of was a former Minister for Disabilities, Mitch Fifield. Somebody told me they went to his office and there was a copy of my book on his coffee table. So that was a real coup for me, that, he had my book on his coffee table. So right now I'm working on the carers story. So carers stories from the heart. And I'm talking to carers, and I plan to do a fundraiser in September. So for Imogen's birthday, so September 8th and 9th, and then I'd like to launch this book in December. So I'm passionate about helping women to find, to dig deep and change the way they think about things so that they can achieve a life that they love as well.
Excellent. So what 3 learnings will you share with us today?
What 3 learnings about my experiences? So no matter how bad your situation might be, there's still a way. There's still a way to achieve, what you think might be impossible. And it's about having that vision that it can be different, that it can be, that it can be done. So it's about, firstly, about, even in impossible situations, achieving amazing things. Secondly, having the vision. So having that vision of, this is what I want to achieve. And even when it seems impossible, you can still achieve it. And I've achieved all the things, going to Hawaii, moving to Queensland, becoming, national manager, all those things, because I believe that there's a way to do it, and then to take the steps to get there. So it's about, knowing in adversity, stepping up, finding a way, having the vision and taking the steps to get there.
And I think I have heard you say that you can wake up happy or you can wake up sad, and the choice is yours.
Yeah, so I made a choice when I stood in the state election in 2006, and people asked me to stand on disability issues. And I decided then, after that, that I could fight for everything for Imogen. I could fight for care. I could fight for this and that. But in fighting for it, it's tiring. It's tiring fighting for it. So I decided that I would wake up and live the best life that I possibly could. I would ask for what I wanted. I would ask for what I needed to care for Imogen. And if I couldn't achieve that, then I wouldn't beat myself up. I would work with what I had. I would find a way. And so now, rather than making everything a fight, I ask for it and get it. And again, it's about that vision. Because when I was on council, I had people come to me and say, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. And I clearly remember saying to someone, I'm a councillor. I can fix this. How do you want it? What solution do you want? She said, this is the problem, this is the problem. I said, no, if you tell me what you want, I can make it happen. So it's about every day I wake up the best that I possibly can. Imogen doesn't have any filters. She doesn't walk or talk. She's just a vision of, she's just love. So if I wake up sad every day, that's not going to help her. So I wake up, happy. How can I improve on yesterday? How can I live the best life that I can? And if everybody could take that pathway, we'd all have a better life.
So here's your chance. What do you want now? Who knows who's listening? What is it that you want that someone out there might be able to help you with?
So I want to help carers live the best life. So if there's carers out there, I'm keen to get them together. So I want to launch this book. I'm doing the fundraiser, and after the fundraiser, I plan to run a retreat. These are the 2 things that I've had a dream of doing, and now I'm making them happen. I'm finding a way. So if there's carers out there that are committed and want to live a better life, I'd love to speak to you, and I'd love to make it happen.
Excellent. So you've been to one YTM event, and you haven't actually been to an event where we play Conversations Count yet. But if you were there and we played Conversations Count, you would be perhaps land on a green square and you would be asked a question. So some of these you've already talked about, so I'm trying to find things that are different. What do you need to learn in the next 3 months?
I need to learn to give up trying to make everybody else's vision and dream come alive and make my own come alive. I need to focus on my dreams and vision, because I know that I can help more people that way.
I definitely think you've got the courage to do that. And have you got a closing quote for us?
Just before I say the closing quote, I did go to your meeting last week, and it was fantastic. Had amazing conversations, and I'm chomping at the bit to get back. So the conversations made me think and made me realize that I have something really worthy of value, and I need to get out there and tell the world and share my story to inspire others. So I would say to anybody, get along to Kerryn's meetings.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I didn't pay you to say that. So it really was a very special night to hear those 7 speakers talk about why me, and each story was very different. And that's what we find with the conversations, that it does make you think about yourself. You know, you're listening to other people, and then you have a chance to reflect and also to review what that question means to you. So people out there, you know, think about what I just asked Christine. What do you want to achieve in the next 3 months? And obviously we have a lady here who is very able to help take that vision and encourage you to move forward.
And
So
when you're talking about courage and vision, I think the saying that I would most relate to is, you need to let go of the shoreline. You know, taking the step into the water, you need to let go of the shoreline to walk across the oceans and find the courage to take the next step.
You know, I use that quote for my son when he went off on a gap year in 2005. He went to South Africa for 12 months after he'd left year 12. And that was the quote that I wrote in his book, because you can imagine as a parent letting your child go off to another country. And at that stage, South Africa, which was, you know, very a long way and very unsettled. And we had a lot of friends who said, how can you possibly let your child do that? And it's his life, it's his vision, and he's got the courage to go. So I love that quote, and I'm glad that we share that. And I thank you for time talking to me today. And I look forward to watching the coming months as you continue to evolve and inspire and take your vision forward. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. And I can't wait to get to the next meeting.